I would never have known this otherwise, but thanks to the miracle of hashtags on Twitter, I learned it is Constitution Day today. So I figured I would do a Constitution-related video. I had been wanting to do a few. And here's my pocket Constitution. I can be a politician now, carry it around. See, but mine is gangster, right? Because most of them, they get them like before they're going to be politicians. But mine is the bicentennial version. It's 1988. Yeah. Look at that. Signed by former Chief Justice of the United States, Warren Burger. Constitution. Tiny, man. Little thing. And I am enamored with this document. Not for the reason that most people are. I do agree that it is one of the most amazing and most important documents ever written. The reason why is that it's one of the greatest con jobs. It's in terms of propaganda, group psychology, and understanding of social behavior, and understanding of the mind and hearts of men. The founding fathers were like, they had some amazing knowledge, some amazing insight, and they actually executed a scam that is still continuing on to this day, and other countries everywhere have picked it up. I will do another video specifically addressing that. But today, as I was looking around on Constitution Day, I, of course, inevitably, the only entertaining or Twitter-worthy piece of this is the Second Amendment, right? The guns one. And man, did I see some gun stuff. And I had been wanting to do a video about guns, particularly as it relates to anarchists and anarchist thought. And I'm going to probably piss off a lot of anarchists with this, and I'm going to piss off a lot of Second Amendment people. So, Second Amendment. Amendment number 2 to the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments. Amendment number 2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, I've already done a video previously, and I'll link to it. It's called Freedom, a Reminder, which I detail the fact that even to the founders, these amendments, they don't come from the document. These amendments are them enumerating rights that they understand human beings to already have. Certain unalienable rights. And in the 9th Amendment, they clearly spell that out. You probably didn't know that. Thank you, public schools. So when people talk about their Second Amendment rights, their gun rights, the right to own guns, even the founding fathers didn't think there was a Second Amendment right. They thought every person has a right to own guns, and they enumerated it because they knew that that was something that government always tries to take away, just like free speech, just like your right to a fair trial, just like your right to against unreasonable search and seizure, right? These are all the things that tyrants do. And of course, out there on Twitter for Constitution Day, you've got a whole bunch of people. They're holding guns. They're talking about how, yeah, this is against tyranny. So I want to give you the real view on gun ownership. First, no Second Amendment rights. Does not exist. The right to have a gun was there before the Second Amendment. That's how they were able to put it in the Second Amendment. So you have a right to own a gun. You have a right to own anything that you didn't steal. You have a right to private property. There is not some class of property that you don't have a right to. It's not you create this with your hands or you purchase it in a consensual transaction from someone who has made it, or from someone who got it from someone who has made it, but a series of consensual transactions. Nobody's stealing anything. That's your private property. It doesn't matter whether it's a knife, a gun, a nuclear bomb. It doesn't matter if it's a brick, because a lot of people get killed with those, or a lead pipe, or your bare hands, or a shoe, because you can certainly stomp somebody to death with a boot, and it does happen. You have a right to own those things. Period. But the second part, I'm going to burst the bubble of some of my anarchist, voluntarist friends who somehow seem to feel or like to talk about the idea that having a gun is somehow going to lead us to a freer society because they will be able to defend themselves from the state. Now, this one is really easy. Today, a friend of mine that I have discussed this with extensively over the years, good friend that I've known for many years, sent me an article directly on this topic. And it's about the LAPD, or it may have been the LA Sheriff's Department, in a standoff with a guy. He's in a field. He's got a shotgun. This is recently. It's within the last week. And they're trying to figure out how to go in and get him. They've got the SWAT team out and everything. They rolled a robot up behind him. They started flying helicopters over. They were yelling on a loudspeaker so he couldn't hear the robot. They rolled a robot up behind him. He was in a ditch. The robot's camera could see his shotgun laying there. Without him knowing, the robot reached down, grabbed his shotgun, turned around, left, and then dropped the shotgun and lifted up a gate so that the police could come in and take him away. Do you have a robot? Do you have a robot? This was a $300,000 robot. Now, let's not forget the robot that recently killed the shooter in Dallas, right? They strapped a bomb to it, ran it over, and blew him up. At the time that the Constitution was written, the colonists were fighting one of the most advanced and well-equipped armies in the world. And that army had essentially the same weaponry that the colonists did. Muskets, some small cannons. There were no airplanes, motorized vehicles. They had horses. Well, shit, the colonists had horses. The colonists didn't have a navy. The French helped out. Had the French not helped out, the colonists would have been fucked. Which brings us to the point. The move to anarchism. The move to a stateless society. And I will explain this more in depth in future videos. The move to a stateless society is going to be non-violent. And the reason it is going to be non-violent is because you can't win a violent confrontation with the state. If you're an American, we are not going to see the state fall apart because some people took some guns somewhere and took over some piece of land. We saw what happened with the Bundy people. Worked in Nevada, didn't work so well wildlife refuge. They're all sitting in jail now. No guns, solitary confinement, basically in a tomb. That's what's going to happen if you want to make this a violent fight. Because here's the thing. The state is violence. Their entire existence is violence. As an anarchist, you know this. They spend trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars a year worldwide on their armed faction. That's police, military. Thinking about it, they have military colleges. They have police academies. They're paying people to develop new tactics, new strategies. I don't give a fuck what kind of AR-15 you got and what your stockpile looks like and how cool you look in your little Twitter selfie. That's great. If you love the aesthetic, if it makes you feel like a badass, that's fucking awesome. Good for you. But when a well-trained SWAT team that outnumbers you by 50 to 60 people and outguns you with a force multiplier of 10 or 20, you're either going to jail or you're going to the morgue. That's it. Why would you engage an enemy in a battle you simply can't win? Now you might say to me, but Vin, what about guerrilla warfare? What about what we're seeing over like ISIS, like, Castro took over Cuba with 80 guys that then got whittled down and then picked back. I would suggest reading the book War of the Flea. It's probably the premier book of the philosophy of guerrilla warfare. Here's guerrilla warfare. It's primarily a political battle, just like the IRA in Ireland, which is one of the groups that it covers, the Tamil Tigers. The key to guerrilla warfare is it works because there's a colonizing army or a hated army, a hated force that's occupying a country. It's usually an outsider. And the rebels, the armed rebels, trying to take it over and trying to establish a nativist state, just like the Founding Fathers, Revolutionary War, the revolution that happens, they have the support of a huge population. Like that they can go door to door to door, and maybe 50 to 60% of the people are at least sympathetic. There is no such movement. And even in that case, as the author clearly points out, there has to still be a non-violent arm, because there has to be somebody for the other side to negotiate with. See this in Israel with the Palestinians, Fatah and Hamas. Two ends of the same spectrum. Both after the same thing, trying to do it in different ways. It's a lever. Your individual gun isn't protecting you from the state. If they want your gun, they're going to take it. The protection from the state is things like agorism. This is how we move. I know that's going to upset a lot of people. But it's fundamentally a question of fear and love. I'm going to keep bringing this concept up. You either move in fear of the government as it is, in fear of the state, in fear of who they are and what they are, or you move out of love because you understand that there is a new and better way coming, that we are evolving toward it, and you take those actions. If the state is violence, why would you use violence to remove the state? The entire idea of being a libertarian, of being an anarchist, of being a voluntarist, is that you see that violent coercive force is wrong. Violent coercive force is not what you and I want to use to get what we want. Yes, non-aggression principle, self-defense. But it isn't self-defense if you can't actually defend yourself. You got to know when to walk away and know when to run, because that's the gamble that we're taking. Corny, but true. So, on this Constitution Day, if you're really worried about your right to keep and bear arms and it being infringed, this is what's got to go.